Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is our presentation. The title of our presentation is An Outbreak of Foodborne Illness Due to the Methyl Pesticide Intoxication in Korea. This article received 31st May 2013 and accepted 23rd September 2013. The original article from Emergency and Critical Care Medicine. We are from Group 7. Our group member are Nur Aina Aribah, Nur Nabila Hasanah, Nur Filzah Izlin, Ahmad Syamuddin, and I, Wan Muhammad Zaim Zikri. This is the content of our presentation. First, summary of the article. Second, causes of the foodborne illness. Third, prevention from the foodborne illness. And lastly, the last point is the conclusion. This is the keyword highlighted from the article. First, methyl. Methyl is methyl and methyl amino carbonyl oxy ethanimidothioates is a choline esterase inhibitor. Consists of colorless crystal with a slight sulfurous odor in pure form. Mixture toxicity describes the effect that occur when toxicity of a combination of different subchemical is higher than toxicity of each of the individual substances. Methanol is methyl alcohol which is toxic, colorless, flammable liquid alcohol that made chiefly by oxidizing methane with chemical formula CH3OH. The last one is the poisoning. Poisoning describes the condition of being infected or contaminated with poison. The summary of the cases. These cases occur at 21st February 2013. This involves sick elderly people. These people collapsed abruptly after eating bean sprout bibimbap at a countryside restaurant in the Changbuk province, Korea. So from the autopsy, they find that the methyl and methanol in the diseased patient's gastric and in the remaining soybean bean sauce. Five of sick patient consumed 1 spoonful, while one patient ingested approximately 2 spoonfuls of soybean bean sauce. During the meal, three patients from the sick patient also drank ethanol. They have just mild toxic symptoms. Two of the patients had respiratory arrest, while one of the two patients died because of cardiac arrest. It's a little detail about the patient. We go to the background of the patient. The early symptoms after the consumption, the illnesses, and the day of discharge after the hospitalization. Okay, for the first patient, this patient is 65 years old man, 70 kg with medical history of cerebral hemorrhage. He had dizzy and collapse. He also had sudden onset of visual and sensorimotor dysfunction. During hospitalization, he had headache, nausea, and weakness. He discharged 6 days after the symptoms subside. Next is the second patient. The second patient is 70 years old man with 65 kg weight. He had abdominal discomfort, muscle aches, rapid onset of dizziness, lost sense of balance, but he has less severe than other. He has been discharged 3rd day after the hospitalization. Next, we go to the third patient. That patient is 60 years old man with 76 kg. He had dizziness, vertigo, lost balance. He also fell to ground, but he did not exhibit loss of consciousness. He also has been discharged 3rd day after the hospitalization. The fourth patient is 70 years old man with average charge with good health. He had vomiting, diarrhea, and unconscious. He also had respiration shallow and slow, pinpoint pupils, bronchial secretion. He had died 3rd day after the hospitalization because of cardiac arrest. The fifth patient are 70 years old woman who is the owner of the restaurant. He had dizziness and vertigo. After the autopsy, the authority the autopsy show that high anion gap metabolic and akinesia of the left ventricle. he had been discharged 6 days after the conservative treatment. The last patient is 77 years old woman with 48 kilogram weight. He is the waitress of the restaurant. He had dizziness within 5 minutes, vomit and collapse after the consumption. He had respiratory arrest with high bronchial secretion with wheezing sounds in lung. He has been discharged 10th day after the hospitalization. Okay, what is metamil pesticide that we have that we say in this presentation? Okay, metamil pesticide is a cholinesterase inhibitor pesticide that consists of colorless crystal with slight sulfurous odor in pure form. It can become in two condition, in solid condition and also liquid condition. So when it's produced as liquid formulation, it will stable in water in 30 days. From this, from in the liquid formulation, relatively this metamil pesticide indistinguishable between metamil and water. So when metamil pesticide have been ingested or be consumed, he will be absorbed and metabolized rapidly and readily excreted in the urine after the ingestion. Okay, why is the cases relate to the metamil? First, the toxic symptom develop rapidly, which is 5 minutes after the meal. From the cases, we show that the patient, almost of all the patients show the symptom rapidly, which most of them after the ingestion, 5 minutes after the ingestion. This show one of the characteristics of the metamil. Second, the symptom observed relate to the previous cases. The symptom from these cases can be related to previous case report, which is general weakness, dizziness, vomiting, and blurred vision. And the third point why these cases is related to the metamil is the clinical characteristics observed are very similar to previous report. The report mentioned as the report are on 7 August 2002 in California and 23 December 2002 in Taiwan. Both reports also show that the intoxication that relate to the metamil. That's all from me. Next, Aina Ariba will continue the presentation.
So thank you, Zaim. And now I will be presenting the causes of the outbreak of the foodborne illnesses happened in Korea. So the main cause of this case is mainly caused by the bean sprout bibimbap, which is a Korean mixed rice and soybean seasoning sauce at the countryside restaurant, which is either both of the bibimbap and soybean seasoning sauce, or one of them is contaminated. So an autopsy identified metamil and methanol in the deceased patient gastric content, which is in the stomach, and in the remaining soybean seasoning sauce. And the patient shown several symptoms after consuming the bibimbap with the sauce, such as chest tightness and unusual sensation in the pit of the stomach, dizziness, ataxia, and worse, collapsing. And these symptoms are the symptoms of someone who accidentally swallowed or consumed a pesticide containing metamil substances. And for information, in South Korea, the production and marketing and the usage of the metamil pesticide is discouraged since 2012 due to many food poisoning cases happened and reported. So what is metamil pesticide? Metamil pesticide or insecticide is a carbamide insecticide that was invented and used years ago in the agriculture industry, and it works very well to kill insect or pest. Metamil pesticide is highly toxic to humans, pets, livestock, and wildlife, which it can cause illnesses, severe illnesses to if consume it. So metamil is soluble in water, and it has a very low affinity for soil binding, which has a very great potential for groundwater contamination. So the effect of the groundwater contamination, the plant or the the plant will absorb the groundwater which is contaminated with the metamil, and it causes the plant to have a metamil substances in the plant itself, so it can cause illnesses, or it can cause intoxication to human if consume the plants or the vegetables. And in this case, that will be one of the reason why the food poisoning happened, due to poorly prepared of the bean sprout itself, or the foods have been contaminated with the groundwater. So next is the methanol, and I will pass it to my friend Bella. Thank you.
Thank you, Aina, for the presentation. Let's move on for the next fact. Okay, but first let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Nabila Hasanah binti Abdul Salam. My metric number is 197033. Okay, methanol poisoning. In this article, an autopsy have occurred on the died patient, and they found methanol poisoning have been affected to the death causes. And what is methanol? Methanol is widely available with a variety of uses, including as a solvent, chemical synthesis, and as a pesticide additive or solvent. So, how does methanol come to be in methyl pesticides and becoming this methanol poisoning? Okay, there are two types of methyl pesticides product in Korea. Okay, the first one is a water dispersible powder, and the second one is a liquid formulation. Okay, in this case, liquid formulation have been used as a methyl pesticide for methyl pesticide product, and then they have found that approximately 75% of the volume methanol in this methyl pesticide product. Okay, therefore when human ingest methyl pesticides in liquid formulation, they ingest a volume of methanol 3 times greater than the methyl pesticide. This is because methanol may itself be the causes of poisoning on bean sprout. Okay. Therefore, the effect of ingesting combination of toxic chemical, which is methomyl and methanol, are synergistic, which is working together and becoming methanol poisoning. Okay, let's move on. Alright, so causes of the cases. Okay, why bean sprout bibimbap was mistaken for bacterial food poisoning? Okay, let's take a break. As we know that in the food industry, foodborne diseases occurs because of bacterial infection, or cross contamination occur because of a pathogen not cooked properly or poor hygienically. But in this case, it can be concluded that from the following situation, chemical contamination could causes of the contaminated, which is methyl pesticides, is used at bean sprout farm. Other than that, maybe the owner of restaurant, which is the victim itself, have purchased the raw bean sprout that have been sprayed with methyl pesticides, and maybe from they cook the food, they did not wash properly the food itself, the bean sprout, because maybe on the bean sprout vegetable have a dirt or can contain harmful pesticide left. And lastly, exposure can cause varying degree of toxicity on food production. Methanol has serious toxic effect which occur at high level of exposure towards on food. Okay, from that we already know the producers of raw ingredient, for example bean sprout cases, is lack of exposure to know how to use and control the chemical pesticides. And as the producer, we need to take action, or important to take a part or gain knowledge about hygienically and safety of the food produce itself. So that's all. So I will pass the presentation to my friend Filza Izlin. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nurul Filza Izlin, metric number 197750. So I will continue to present the prevention actions. I will present the prevention from consuming chemical pesticides because from what Aina Ariba has presented, the main cause was because of the customers consuming the pesticides. So the first prevention that can be done to avoid consuming chemical pesticides is by using salt water. According to the Center of Science and Environment, CSE, 2% salt water could remove most of the contact pesticides residues that normally appear on vegetables and fruits. How to do this is you just simply mix water with salt and you just immerse your fruits and vegetables in the solution. And to my surprise, I tried this method and I found that my fruits and vegetables get more crunchier, and it also removes the residue of the sand and pesticides. However, fruits like tomatoes, brinjal and okra, and fruits like grapes, apple, guava and plums and mangoes shall be washed more thoroughly as they might carry pesticides in their crevices. Crevices is the narrow opening in fruits and vegetables. Like in the apple, you notice at the top where the stem used to be, there will be crevices in there, and pesticides may come in between the crevices. Same goes with grapes, mangoes, and everything that is connected to the stems. Okay, the second method is the vinegar soak. 10% white vinegar mixed with water can produce a solution to soak vegetables and fruits in. This is quite the same method as using the salt water, but by using vinegar. And you have to be extra with this because you have to stir the fruits around and rinse thoroughly. And then this method is less preferred because fruits with thin peel like berries may be damaged because they have porous outer skin. And the outer skin is very porous and is very gentle and fragile, so the fruit may be damaged by this method because you have to rinse thoroughly by using acid. And the third method I proposed is by using blanch and peel. Treating vegetables with warm water for a few seconds to minutes, which is blanching, will remove any leftover residue. Peeling is also efficient as the peel could have absorbed unwanted pesticide residues. So imagine you buy an apple and the pesticide may have been absorbed into the skin of the apple. So you just peel the skin off and it may be safe to eat. And don't forget to wash it first. So that is all from me, and I will pass the presentation to my friend Hisham for the next prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Filza. My name is Ahmad Syamuddin. My metric number is 198522, and I will continue on how to prevent from consuming chemical pesticide. By purchasing high quality product, we can reduce the risk of having chemical pesticide in the product. Do not buy raw material that are known or have high probability to be contaminated. By purchasing product from reputable supplier, we can ensure that the product is having high quality, because if the supplier have a very good reputation, of course we know that the consumer is happy with the supplier, all the buyers is happy with the supplier because the supplier supply a good raw material. Next, avoid cross-contamination. After arrange supply in the storage or during cleaning in the kitchen, we must wash our hand thoroughly before preparing food to avoid possible chemical contaminate the food. This is because we know that if we cleaning, we use like detergent or anything that having chemical, and so if we do not wash our hand thoroughly, the chemical might transfer into the food that we are going to prepare. Based on my experience, people that doing the cleaning and arranging supply in the store are usually different from people who are preparing the food, meaning that the people that preparing the food is only focused on the food and they do not touch the supply. They do not range the supply, they just focus on their cooking because to avoid the cross contamination from occur. To avoid chemical accidentally mixed into the food, chemical must be stored in separate and locked storage. Food preparation place must be free from chemical such as cleaning agent and hand soap. In my experience, when you preparing the food, the sink that you have to wash the chicken don't have any kind of soap. The sink used to wash the dishes and all other stuff are separate from the sink that used by the cook. It's mean that the cook have their own sink. Last but not least, we can practice on buying organic food. Organic food can be considered safe from chemical pesticide because the crop are grown with natural fertilizer. The pest control on the crop are using only natural method, meaning that it only using like bird or rat to control the pest, or naturally derived pesticide. Livestock are given all organic with hormone and GMO free feed. Next, I will pass to Zaim for the next presentation.
Thank you, Hisham, for the explanation. Now we go to the conclusion. From this presentation and from the article, we have got 4 conclusions. First, 6 persons involved in the case and one of them are died. Most of them have similar symptoms that can relate to the metformin intoxication. Second, the sources of the case are from the brown bean sprout baking bulk and soybean seasoning sauce that cause metformin and methanol intoxication. Third, there are many ways to prevent from being intoxicated with this chemical. And the last conclusion, we got that a patient present with the abrupt onset of unconsciousness after a meal associated with high anion gap metabolic acidosis, metformin pesticide intoxication is one of the conditions that doctor should consider with regard to differential diagnosis. And that's all from us. Thank you.